amongst the 10 bound digits. Calculating, waiting, pleading and praying for the moment to come. It's time. Wright turned to the grime-covered window as a faint rumble began to grow. The northbound train was approaching along its track. Seeing the man raise his own gun at him and hearing the train rapidly approaching, Brown had a flash of insight. All the pacing, the inaudible murmurs, all a stall. This is what the man had been waiting for, an opportunity to drown out the sound of his crime. Any second now that opportunity would pass on its way to the city. Brown could feel the floor shaking against his knees as the sound grew louder. The sound of the train immediately faded as a much more concerning sound seemed to echo infinitely off the graffitied walls of the musty room. The man had just clicked off the gun's safety. Brown exhaled. It was now or never. Look out. Elizabeth's voice was loud and vivid but ultimately too late. Wright turned from the window just as the train was passing by, its mass blocking out the night's light, throwing the room and its 2 trespassers into darkness. The last clear visual Gerald had was of the cuffed officer throwing himself onto his back in a full-hearted attempt to avoid a bullet to the face. Or so he thought. In a flash, to be precise, Gerald realized he was wrong. The Smith & Wesson 642 was a diminutive firearm even for a .38. The concealed hammer meant that the 5 slugs chambered within its cylinder could always be fired by its user with confidence. Combined with the exposed trigger design of the holster secured to his ankle, Brown knew his chances weren't intact. By the time Brown fell back to the ground, he had already squeezed off his first shot. And the next 3 all hit their target as the train finished passing by. Brown lay on the small of his back clutching the small gun and breathing heavily as his would-be kill fell to his knees. Brown watched as red blotches formed along his attacker's body and there was relief in the thud of the gun, his gun, hitting the ground. The intense burning sensation in Gerald's body seemed to be everywhere at once. Seeing the blood form above his right knee immediately gave him a feeling of heaviness that he could not uphold. He fell to his knees beside the gun he'd just dropped but paid it no attention. His hands went to the redness above his groin before noticing the pooling on his shirt nearly directly in the center of his chest. Warmth trickling down his cheek caused him to bring his hand to his face. When he pulled it away, blood quickly ran from his palm and down the length of his forearm. Gerald could only briefly look at the officer before falling to the floor. Brown lay flat on his back and let out an exasperated whoosh of air he'd not realized he'd been holding. His heart rate way above normal, he rolled to his side and pulled himself to his feet. Wiping at the blood falling into his right eye, he found the corner where his equipment had been thrown. Too damn close, he said, winching at a pain in his chest. For the past year Brown had considered hanging up his badge for a more thankful, less, maybe you'll die today, profession. Shaking his head he picked up his utility belt and rolled it to the pouch containing his cuffs key. I'm done with this shit. Brown had just managed to key his cuffs loose when a perturbing sound of shuffling caused him to spin towards the place he'd just narrowly escaped execution. He could only watch as the just-felled man got up to a knee with barely a struggle. That was some real go-go gadget shit right there, Gerald's tone reflected impressed, and Brown barely had time to process what he was seeing. He watched as the bullets that had just taken down the man a few moments ago fell to the floor and rolled about. The fuck? It wasn't until the resurrected man reached down that Brown remembered the gun.